You're watching Newsnight here on the Rise News. I'm with me, Michael Kadi.
And of course, I'm Maka Ode. We're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where the number of presidential aspirants on the platform of the opposition's People's Democratic Party (PDP) is growing by the day. Just days after the Senate President Bukola Saraki said he was considering a bid for the top job, well, the Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal says he is under intense pressure from various quarters in Nigeria and outside the country to contest for the presidency. He told the gathering of youths and students in Sokoto State that he is still having consultations because of his beliefs that leadership is a collective responsibility. In his words, "I have never asked to be made a leader at any time in my life. So my aspiration will be determined by my people, and after that I will make my political decision known in a matter of days." Tambuwal also took a swipe at President Buhari's performance in office, saying that the president has health challenges and is being held captive by a cabal that is running his government for their personal interests.
Well, quite interesting. Now, with the possibility of the Saraki and Tambuwal joining the search for the PDP presidential tickets, there are fears that unless the party is able to manage the selection process, it may be heading for another crisis. As preparations continue for the 2019 general elections, a former military president, General Ibrahim Babangida, who is being consulted by many of the aspirants, has told the leadership of the PDP to ensure that it conducts a transparent, free and fair presidential primary elections in order to avoid the problems of the past. Political analysts have also pointed out to the problems of PDP that may be compounded by its membership of the coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, also known as Cupp, which has 37 other political parties in the folds. What are the chances that the PDP within the Cupp will be able to have a rancor-free selection process?
Well, to find answers to the tough question, a member of the Strategic Committee of the Coalition of United Political Parties, Tony Uranta, joins us now. Tony, good to have you in the studio.
It's a pleasure always being here.
Okay, so going by all of the reports that we're seeing, yesterday was the Senate President and now the Sokoto State Governor saying he might be eyeing that position of presidency. And it seemed like the day as it goes by, there are more candidates looking to become President of Nigeria under the PDP in 2019. I'm bringing it now to the CUPP, your coalition. We're thinking, how difficult is it going to be for you to be able to pick one person to be the flag bearer of the PDP? And eventually, how can you ensure a rancor-free primaries eventually that gets somebody to stand as the flag bearer of the party as well as the coalition without others feeling terrible?
The first thing you've got to remember is that the coalition was based on a memorandum of understanding that was signed onto, agreed to, and in fact developed by all, at that time, 39 members that formed the coalition. They are increasing the number of parties. At least 4 have joined in the last 24 hours out of the new parties that were registered by INEC. So we know there are going to be even more parties, but it's a very simple process. Each party is still itself. So, let's take the PDP. The PDP is going to conduct its own primaries. How it does that, we believe it will be democratic. We believe it will be free of tension and so on. But at the end of the day, they're going to have a candidate. Now, that candidate will stand against or with other candidates of other parties.
Wow.
Who will be brought out. Don't forget that it is not unusual, in fact, for some parties to intentionally, both in Nigeria and outside those climes, step down for other candidates, other parties' candidates, to represent them, so to say. So it's not impossible to say that there will be cliques within the coalition supporting either A or B of whichever front-running candidates or aspirants will be looked at by the coalition. So the coalition is going to hold something like what we call a consensus primaries of sorts, where all the candidates will now have to prove to the consensus, the coalition of all parties, that each one has to state why he should be the consensus candidate.
That's
and
like
I'm sure
an
that
uphill task.
yes, it's uphill. Nobody said it would be easy. Going from Egypt to the promised land is always uphill. You are not going to make omelets without breaking eggs. And at the end of the day, we are going to have headaches, we'll have friction, we'll have tension. But you see,
So what kind of mechanisms are already in place to tackle, some of those unforeseen challenges?
a lot of them are foreseen. We have a manifesto and blueprint building committee. We have a strategy and planning committee. Of course, we have media, etc. Now, by the time these committees, which are populated by people chosen from within all these parties, by the time we sit down and draw up the final master plan, so to say, I am sure we'll have taken care of all the little problems or challenges here and there. But one thing I know for sure is that come 2014, Nigeria will see that Cupp, walking through any one party, I don't know what name, I don't know, will produce a presidential candidate. And by the way, I keep repeating it. President Buhari is free to join Cupp.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the APC is free to join Cupp if and when they subscribe to the ideals and objectives of Cupp, which are true democracy, justice, equity, respect for diversities like gender, and respect for the rule of law. When they subscribe to that, they can join Cupp. So who says that it cannot be a Buhari that will become our consensus candidate? We don't know. But what we do know is that which way it's going to take, at the end of the day, we're going to bring out the winner of the 2019 elections, the new president, and a brand new system of governance.
All right, but that's a
looking
long
forward to
shot,
it.
really, for President Buhari
Looking
to
forward to
cross over.
Well-
However,
Anything is possible in
well,
politics.
of course, in Nigeria, I
Anything
think
is
he's just
possible.
entered some very salient
is
point.
possible.
No
Don't be
problem
surprised.
about that, Tony.
We'll remember this.
Tony, moving forward, in the recent by-elections, there was, put together by INEC in several states of the Federation. APC carted away 4 out of the 5 positions. Has that really made nonsense of, the coalition, Cupp, leading to the general elections?
By-elections for what?
For the House of the Senate and, of
National
course,
Assembly
the
General.
Now,
House of
the
Representatives.
Senate, you're talking about 774 positions. And so by the time you look at the numbers and look at this is infinitesimal. And we've got giants, elephants coming into Cupp. Just yesterday, a black horse, or dark horse rather, Major Hamza Al-Mustafa, declared that he was running for presidency, even though he
He's
did
still
not
a might.
say,
He
even
hasn't
though
come
he
out.
didn't say it in so many words, just as Tambuwal, I've heard on this news clip, has not said. But it does not matter. We know they are all running. And when these kind of people, a Tambuwal, an Al-Mustafa, a Saraki, a Dankwambo, etc., come into play, running, a Showore, a Durote, a Duke, My brother, Cupp is a big, strong alliance.
Yeah,
It's
so, but you
still-
know, sorry, my God, but I mean, you've
Yeah.
not actually answered the question, because what the ruling party are saying is that despite all the coalition against it, despite all the,
It just shows that it
you
will
know,
be easy for
it
the
is making the
APC
president,
in 2019.
it's taking the president, you know, even into greater heights. Is making the president more popular. Now in the Senate, there were two by-elections in the north, that's in Bauchi and of course in Katsina, and APC won overwhelmingly
Yeah.
against the PDP.
Sure.
So that tells
Not
you
forgetting
that the
Kogi
president
State
is
as
still
well.
very, very popular. And that may rub off on the general elections coming in.
First of all, the presidency controls the strongest institution involved in the electoral process, INEC. And even before, just before I got to your studios, a young nephew of mine was complaining about how they were being disenfranchised to be able to register for their PVCs. And this is happening mainly in southern states. Well, without calling INEC any names, we know that there are a lot of things stacked against us. We are not underestimating what a sitting president, who is a former general, can do. But it is, in fact, that we are taking into consideration all of that. And having taken it into consideration and sat down with all due modesty, with the kind of minds that are being put together to work it out, these are very early days. Very early days. A month ago, who knew Saraki would be in PDP? These are early days. Who knew?
No cause for alarm.
No cause for alarm. All these things, who knew Donald Trump would be president? You see, sometimes pundits base things on what you call conventional wisdom. But the new breed of politicking allows for unconventional wisdom, but mainly to work and realize, like they say, that politics is war by other means. Now, the great general of war, the Chinese Sun Tzu, has told us that all you have to do is know yourself very well and know your foe very well. If, for example, the PDP, or say the RAPC, which are members who are members of Cupp, want to explain, want to understand, or if Cupp needs to understand the APC, all he needs to do is go to the RAPC led by Buba Galadima, or go to a Bukala Saraki, or go to a Tambuwa. These are people that work very, very close to this presidency. And the reason why the last administration lost was because people close to it defected from it into
The
another
APC.
body. Now, virtually the same thing is happening right now. And the same way there were aspirational confidence statements made by
The
last,
occupant.
we are still going to see. At the end of the day, I know, I could virtually stake my life on it. The new government in Nigeria will be a government that is produced by the coalition of united political parties. And like I said again also,
You sound very confident.
because I happen to be an aficionado of the history of politics all over, and especially in Nigeria. And when certain things are obvious, they don't have to be obvious to everybody. You can see them coming. I play chess.
Okay.
A lot of people play Ludo. And so we're on different.
All right, that's a
level.
good place to leave it. Tony Uranta, a member of the Strategy Committee of the Coalition of United Political Parties, for that inside analysis. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the elections 2019, because of course tomorrow will mark the beginning of the election campaigns, because going by INEC's calendar, at least tomorrow being the 17th, we're supposed to see the political parties start with the primaries and campaigns will officially begin.
And of course, we're going to be following up with the developments of all these events in all the political parties in Nigeria, and of course, by extension, Cupp, which of course Tony Uranta belongs to. Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you for having me. Always.
So moving on right now, in a preemptive move, the former Senate Minority Leader, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has secured a court injunction to preserve his seat. Well, the federal court here in Abuja, that's the Federal High Court in Buhari, has restrained the Senate President Bukola Saraki from declaring Akpabio's seat vacant. Justice Othman Musa directed the Senate President not to impede Mr. Akpabio's access to the Senate building. The judge, in an ex parte order, also restrained Saraki from taking any actions aimed at overreaching the privileges and the rights of Akpabio as the senator, pending the determination of the court application, which will be heard on the 29th of August. Well, Akpabio, who was elected as a PDP senator representing Akwa Ibom Northwest Senatorial District in Akwa Ibom State, last week defected to the ruling All Progressives Congress, fueling speculations that his seat may be declared vacant by the Senate President. However, Saraki's spokesman Yusuf Olaniyonu said that there was no plan to declare Akpabio's seat vacant.
40 Christian pressure groups and Christian leaders across the country have met in Kaduna, north central Nigeria. Arise News political correspondent Nisi Gabriel reports that their gathering was to deliberate on the state of this nation ahead of the 2019 general elections. Take a listen.
These are Christian youths and leaders from across the country, here in Kaduna State, gathered under the auspices of the United Christian Leaders Eagle Eye Forum. In attendance are more than 40 faith-based pressure groups who say they are concerned about the political development of Nigeria. The current session is focused on the state of the nation and other issues ahead of the 2019 general elections. Curiously, they invited a Muslim, retired Major Hamza Al-Mustafa, Chief Security Officer to late Head of State, General Sani Abacha, as the keynote speaker. Al-Mustafa addressed issues on the state of the nation and urged youths to get involved and ask critical questions from those in power.
I pray our youth will understand, open your brains and open your eyes and see and ask questions that are too tough. Even if there are no answers, keep asking and be on your feet. Understand the laws of your land. Understand your right. Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federation 1999 revised is your right. Complete chapter 4. If you refuse to unite yourself, if you refuse to know what you ought to know, you will remain slaves.
His speech touched on what he called the dirty politics going on in the country, as well as poverty and insurgency in Nigeria.
2 tiers of government decided to kill one by creating something called joint account, local government and state. Local governments were denied money going to them, so that those who have money in their pocket will become the institutions in the land. And when that happens, what you see every day are causes of insurgency being promoted.
Perhaps what qualified Hamza's choice as keynote speaker is his involvement in politics as founder of the Green Party. He says a constitutional review is the remedy for restructuring Nigeria.
The ethics, the conduct, the restructuring, the current crime threat in the country, commensurate to the size, capacity, training, understanding, perception, and the doctrine that police uses for Nigeria is far below the crime rate. Nigeria's fundamental major bane is one single issue. You know what it is? Fundamental issue in Nigeria is called institutional decay.
Our Mustafa presentation elicited some reaction.
He was concerned so much about youth development and then talked about the different developmental strategies that should have been deployed and could still be deployed to up the level of youth wealth creation in the country.
One could not help but ask, as founder of the Green Party, what is our Mustafa's political ambition?
Certainly, I told you, I will never announce myself. If people wishes to say so, that is the wishes of the people. If that is the wishes of God Almighty, let that be. I am not a power thirst person.
As activities continued in preparation for the 2019 elections, the Christian leaders and youths promised to kick out bad leaders, cast their votes wisely, and hold those elected accountable. Nisi Gabriel, Arise News.